Welcome to Planning Phase Syndicate, episode 120. Let's talk about Crossroads, and let's break down a Republic meta. I've had to do that intro a couple of times because earlier, when I was practicing, said Republican meta, and I didn't understand what the hell that was. Speaking of which, this weekend there was a couple of store champs and a bigger, what we would call a 3 style size store champ down in Indiana called Crossroads Classic the 4th, a brand new hope. And Alex had quite a bit good run, but not quite enough to make it to the final table. We'll get back with him in a few minutes. He drove all the way down there, played for 2 days, and then drove all the way home. So Alex might be a little bit tired tonight, and we might have to correct him a couple times if he falls asleep. But he is joining us right here on the show. Also, coverage will include tonight an assurance that we are going to keep going back over our meta list. And I have left the 2 videos we've done private, but I will be changing that tonight when I edit the show. I will be going ahead and making those public so that our Academy 101 series covering meta lists and analyzing them will be officially public for everybody to see. With that being said, let's bring in the host for tonight. Come on in, guys. Please welcome to the show, JJ. He now is a Lions fan because the Lions are doing better than his Giants. Gridiron, how are you tonight, sir?
Doing right. Just wondering about the Democratic meta.
Yeah, exactly. Where's the Democratic meta? I don't know. It's weird because I say Republican, and for some reason it just goes right to that Republican thing, and I don't mean to. It's just like it's just a slip. It was a slip up. So when I was doing all my practice for it, it was kind of crazy.
Yeah. Just want to give a quick shout out to the guys from yet another X-Wing podcast that we had last week. It was a ton of fun having the guys on the show, and just glad that we were able to go to a really extensive episode, but it was a ton of fun, and they had a great cast this past week.
Yep. Also joining us tonight is Alex, number 8. How are you tonight, sir? You're no longer a bench warmer. You have to officially change the name of your podcast. It has to say the Michigan Bench Warmers and Alex or something like that, or the Bench Warmers and Alex. I don't know. You got to come up with a new name.
Hey, Cody makes far more cuts than I do. Okay, I'm doing okay. Crossroads is blast. Always a great time. I got in 8th-ish. Technically, I got all the perks of being in the 8th without actually getting any of the prizes for coming in 8th, so that was cool.
Oh, because somebody dropped or whatever.
Yeah, it was a great time, though. Met a bunch of people, hung out. Staniszewski drove, so that was a fun time.
Oh, yeah, you didn't even have to drive? That's like at first, you always drive. You're the driving guy. That's why he's still drinking beer, folks. He was drinking beer this morning, drinking beer tonight. Worked out great. He drink beer the whole way home. It's Indiana. They don't care.
Turns out you can shotgun Juicy Force, which is a 9.5 ABV because it is delicious.
You can. This guy cannot. I probably could do a couple of shots in the morning, but I don't know, man. I know I'm a little older than you, but those days are a lot harder for me to get behind now.
It's carbs and calories. That's what your body needs for energy, right?
And sugar, right? Sugar.
Yeah.
It's sugar. So 100% is what you need. You just got to figure out how to get some protein in there. Ooh, you could add some protein powder that has flavorless, and now you've got a all well-rounded breakfast.
I'm pretty sure that's actually roughly equivalent to what they gave the ancient Egyptians. The pyramids. It was something close to that. But yeah, that was a nice 4.5-hour drive. 5 with construction getting there. So
yeah, Sherman, it's actually about the same time frame from Detroit to there as it is from Grand Rapids to here. So
wow,
it's weird because of where it's at in Indiana, and how you get there. So I can't believe you guys did it because did you guys come down Friday morning or Friday night?
I thought it was Friday afternoon. I think we got there around 7 or so. maybe a little bit earlier, 6. I went to Zach Bart's house. Very nice, very fancy house, and hung out with a bunch of X-Wing people. 2 other people there were going to fly scum, so that was a shock, meeting the other half of the scum field.
I know that the Crossroads Classic actually had quite a few scum players in it comparatively. So I think
There was
that
5
is
of
a
us.
win. And actually, to begin the episode tonight, we're not. We'll cover your list and we'll cover your run, and we could kind of talk through some of that. But what I wanted to do is I want to open the show up by talking a little bit about scum. And I know this is kind of a little unscheduled, and I feel we it's about time we have this conversation, because I think we've talked a little bit about this before, because Duncan Howard has made cut with a weird scum list, and has won with another tournament with one, and we've seen kind of the rise in scum and surf championships, but we haven't seen a ton of it when it comes to larger tournaments. Now this tournament was what, 42 to 46 people?
It was 49 people.
49. Okay.
Yeah.
So 49 people total. And so I would consider this close to what we would call a normal world qualifier, right? Like, in this, actually, in my opinion, this is not as many as we had right after COVID. Because I think we had, I don't know, I swear we had like 90 or something like that.
Right, it was
around
actually
COVID
going to
time.
be like one of those world qualifier events, but the emails they would send to AMG like got trapped in the spam folder, so it never, like, they can communicate fast enough, and then they eventually figured it out. So next year they believe it's going to be whatever rough equivalent of a world qualifier will be.
Yeah, because that store can hold like almost 100 people, if I remember right.
Yeah, I'm pretty
It's
sure
a
all the
huge
crossroads
store.
have been like close to 100 people.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, the first one I ever went to was like, I think over 90 people or something like that. It was like right around there. Because that's when I actually first met some of you guys in terms of tournament wise, was at Crossroads, because I went down with Corey and Zach and Matt and Sean, I think. So
Yeah, I think in a big Indiana regional 1.0, that's where Staniszewski, like, he won that regional. It was like over 100 people, and then he brought that list to Worlds and like topped 8'd, possibly 4th. I don't recall. That was many years ago. It's like 6 years ago or so.
Yeah. As for PAX, so Sherman, I'm on the fence. Essentially, if they sell out, I'm not going to be going. If it depends on what happens with my daughter, will depend on if I'm able to go or not. So my daughter, I guess, I don't know if we announced that last week. Officially, my daughter is having surgery to have the tumor and her kidney removed this Tuesday. So depending on, we're given basically a month recovery, and then it just kind of depends if the wife lets me travel after that. So my ultimate goal was I would like to go to PAX, especially because Yaxby is going to be there, and I want to hang out with Chris and Pete. But I just can't commit to anything right now, unfortunately. So, Alex, are you going to PAX? JJ, PAX, either of you?
Yeah. Since my situation has changed, personally, I am definitely heading out to PAX.
All right. So JJ will represent us at minimum. Alex, if I go, you should go with me. It might be a fun road trip. We're taking my car, though. We're not taking your car.
Yeah, if you're driving, I could probably do it. I don't want to drive to PAX again. That's a long, long drive.
We could fly. I mean,
Flying
you live
is
right by.
really expensive. I was looking at those tickets. I'm like, I can't afford that. And then I remembered trains exist, and that was semi-affordable, but it's like a 26-hour train ride.
Jesus. I think I'd rather drive.
You'll also have my car there too, so that, and I mean, if you guys need to drive around, you got me.
Well, I go nowhere, JJ. So last time we just went to wherever everybody went to eat. So
that's true.
But that is true. If you are going, you could pick us up from the airport, and then I wouldn't have to pay to rent a vehicle.
Yes, exactly.
Like, I would love to go, but money is not like tight, but it's a big investment.
Yeah.
All right, time to set up a GoFundMe page for
Alex's. Well, either which way, let's get into scum a little bit, and we don't have to spend a ton of time. I just know that originally we gave some rankings for that, and we all ranked scum at the bottom, like absolute bottom. So the first question is we've seen Scum do a little bit better. I would now say, Alex, even if you were only 9 and didn't make the top 8, like I think a 4-1 record demonstrates that your list has viability in this meta. And it does demonstrate, that Scum is not 100% dead, right? Like we originally thought. And so kind of the question is were we just all incorrect about Scum because we were pissed they didn't do what they wanted to do, or are we only seeing Scum make success because of the player base flying? Or is it because you're all determined just to prove everybody wrong, so AMG nerfs it more so? One of the three, it
Hell
has to
yeah.
be.
So I think it's a little bit of player bias. I think that's the best word I could say. So essentially, there's a certain type of pilots or ships that people really enjoy to play, and when they don't see any like significant changes to those pilots, then people tend to dismiss it as, oh, it's not good because it's not as XYZ, and they compare it to other factions in their power level, and they see that the numbers don't match up, and because of that they dismiss it as, it's underpowered when you compare it to XYZ and stuff, and they go that way. Now, there is a little bit of validity to it. Scum historically so far for 2.5 hasn't seen a big shakeup in its pricing and making more pilots available across the board that people want to see on the board. And compared to like what we've seen in the Empire with like the Battle of Yavin packs, or with like the Republic with the Siege of Coruscant packs, that had those standard loadout builds that are really good and really economical, and you see them really saturated through the meta right now. And because of that, I think that a lot of people deviated towards those factions because they were priced competitively, and they've been doing very well this because they're very efficient for their cost. And because of that, I don't think that we as a community gave enough time to really take a look and test out the scum and really try to find what the scum meta would be in order to see what's good. And now that we've had some of the uh, more veteran players like Duncan Howard, for instance, do well with Scum, and we're seeing a lot more other store champs that have done pretty well with Scum, and they have different pieces there. The biggest difference is knowing how to fly those ships, right? Because you're not going to fly a Scum list like you would fly a Rebel list or Empire list, because they just don't have the same type of chassis. So you have to find the niche for that particular list and play towards its strengths, and that takes time and a lot of reps that typically a lot of people don't want to give. So
Alex, thoughts?
Yeah, so list building in Scum is very, very difficult because they lack a lot of things that other factions have. They don't get easy double mods. They don't do a lot of like super nice things. Like, they're not getting free target locks right in Republic, or just having a ton of like various modifications that you get in Resistance. You don't have double tapping or token sharing really like the Rebels have. And they're not super AC like FO, so it's really difficult to like build something really good because the loadout's not really there and the chassis aren't great. Like your small base 3-die gun is a Fang Fighter, which are cool, but they only got 4 hull. And they have to be at range 1, and that's very bad. And if they get blocked, that's super, super bad. Otherwise, you just don't have firepower. I mean, you have the YV. Like, that's, Afra is really, really good. And, Lazarazi's okay. The Rogues are probably, like, overall the best chassis in terms of, like, pilots you can bring. And that's not good when that happens. But they got, like, a bunch of really awkward point costs, right? They have a good 3-point ship in Lima, and all the other ones, like, drop off pretty hard after that. So you're not taking multiple 3-point ships like you would in other factions. And then you just got a glut of ships at 6. You got like Dangar, you got Fen, you got Afra. Technically, Han Solo is also 6 points. I still don't believe in the YTs at all. But I guess Lebo's 6 points. So you have like a weird point distribution. Your 2-point ship is Bosk in the Z, which isn't like
It's not Sabine.
It's not Sabine. It's not BB-8. And it's good. I mean, but I'm maybe on the fence that CIS is just as bad as Scum, if not slightly worse. But I still believe that Scum is like way below the power curve. And you have to take something super off the wall and not intuitive in order to even do really well. Or you can be Duncan Howard and just, do really well by yourself. Because like Mando mathematically is super good.
But not without
he's the only one
upgrades.
I've seen success with. Because every time I play Mando, he dies super fast. Or I just shoot him with one chip. It's not that hard. He doesn't get an ability. He only goes straight too, by the way. Stress him out. So, yeah, I mean, I was always been a Scum player. I love Scum. Didn't play him too much in 2.5 because I don't find Rook, Boba, Kanan terribly interesting. But now they're just a giant dumpster fire. I love everything about it. I love doing 1.0 shenanigans in 2.5.
Yeah. So I don't know, and I still agree with you that there's there's things that are overcosted, and again, like, to me, it wouldn't be better to just remove some of the more problematic crew that they don't not there's outside of Boba, nobody's got really pilot abilities that are such an insane amount in standard. In I will say in extended we do have a little bit more viability, right? With some of the ship pilots, right? But in standard we don't. Like, there really isn't that piece in Scum standard. And hence why we've not done a meta Scum list, because they don't really exist. It's not a thing. There's meta pieces, but it's not like a staple, a faction where you could just go through and it's like Han's in 80% of the lists and Luke's in every single list, or should be in every single list. I think we don't have that. You don't take Fen in every list. That's not logical, which I think AMG would argue and say, well, hey, this is great, right? You guys have a bunch of different things you can do, but they aren't not together. They aren't competitive very often.
They don't have a centerpiece list like you would like a Han Solo.
Yeah.
Or like a Poe or something, or Vader. They don't have a centerpiece. And like Fen is good, but the 14 points around Fen that you bring aren't going to bring the 14 points worth. Like Fen Rao will get its points. The other ships around there, I don't think you can adequately build something good enough to cover the heat on Fen.
No. And you don't get Dirge and CAD in the same vein that you get them in CIS, right? So they're even like Cad Bane's ability is pretty cool, but can you imagine if you were in a list where half your ships are going to die anyway and you just know it because you're flying Scum? And
I honestly rather have Scum CAD than Separatist CAD.
Really? Oh,
yeah,
I like
that ability is huge. And the ability to take Scum crew is major.
Sure. I mean, but that's what we're saying. If we got rid of Scum crew, the problem child ones, we could play with points on some of these other ships a lot easier. And I don't understand why we don't have at least one M3A. Just give me one M3A that's 2 points, for Christ's sake. Why do I have to have Bosk? Why can I not have an M3A instead of Bosk, I guess?
Bring my 3-point foreman approach.
Yeah.
Carry my whole team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The Overseer Yushin, 3 points. What a steal.
So really the last question, and then we can kind of move on off of this. We don't need to spend all night doing this. But the next, the bigger question then is so are we seeing, again, we go back to, are we seeing more Scum do a little bit better because it's a store champ, and either some of the people in that store champ may have already won some stuff and they don't care, so they're flying whatever they want, right? Or and again, I don't think everybody at a store champ who's flying scum is a Duncan Howard, right? I think that's not a thing. But do we just see it because store champs have a different meta and the scoring points because there's less rounds? It's not the same feel as you get like at a larger tournament where we have cuts and all these other things.
Yeah, I mean, for most store champs, they tend to be a lot shorter than, if you're going to like a regional event. And by regional, I mean like going to like a PAX or Nova, for instance, where you have to do like a day two and then a cut. And there's a lot more strain mentally on you for that. Whereas, a store champ is just typically 4 rounds and maybe the occasional cut if there is any. Um, I think that it's much easier to get in a good momentum with your list, and if you get the right pair ups, you can very easily make the top of that list in the store championship. I think that's a lot better. I think it's much harder to pull that off in like a bigger event. So
Yeah, I think I'm semi-active in like scum list building forums on various discords, right? And people are starting to realize that, like, oh man, Manaru is actually super good for 5 points. Afra's really good for 6. Lima's really good for 3. How do I fill in the other 6? Then they put in Fen, and I'm like, no, please no. But yeah, no, it's just like people are testing things out, and they're starting to realize, hey, there's some pieces here, and the pieces you have to kind of cobble together and hope you can fly well enough to bring them any sort of success, or have some sort of extreme gimmick like mine does.
All right. Well, fair enough. Why don't we get into our pattern analyzer segment and let's analyze some of these store champs. So tonight for our pattern analyzer segment, we are not going to start with Crossroads. We will get to Crossroads, and that's just because of how I did the doc. But we're going to start off with Australia because I got a little excited when I saw a store champ go down in Australia. I think this is the second one. Nabi ran one, but I don't remember the name of it and I couldn't figure it out. So if somebody knows what one Nabi ran a couple weeks ago or a week ago, I don't know, whatever it was, if you could send me a message at planningfacesyndicate@gmail.com or message us on Discord, please. I would love to cover that one because we don't see a lot that comes out of Australia. And I know they have a Worlds qualifier coming up, and I would like to kind of cover that one if it exists. But this one was a C4, which in my mind thinks of dynamite. I don't know if that's really what it really means because I'm not Australian and they're different than us. So I don't know. But anyway, we had they had a pretty decent turnout. There was 3 3-1s and a 4-0. And so the winner for this, JJ, what did Logic Dump bring to the table here?
Well, logically, he brought in Rear Admiral Shernu with Dauntless, Electronic Baffle, Agile Gunner, Darth Vader Crew, Death Troopers, and Ruthless. We got Captain Faroff in the Reaper with 000 and Ruthless, Tomex Bren with True Grit, Plasma Torpedoes, and Ion Bombs. Deathfire with Swift Approach. This is the standard loadout one with Swift Approach, Connor Nets, Proton Bombs, and then Major Rhymer with Ion Bombs, Barrage Rockets, and Sat Salvo to round off the list. This is actually really interesting. The inclusion of Captain Faroff is really nice because you can actually use Faroff as your objective grabber in terms for like salvage. He's actually really, really good. If you're able to grab a crate and then just constantly jam people on the way, you're guaranteeing that that free evade every turn with it. And then with 000, you can stress out people, forcing them to either give Faroff a calculate or set up a Death Troopers like continued stress on there. So you got to make some really bad decisions when it comes to there. So it's definitely a really nice list. You got a lot of beef for Ruthless to like chew through and like provide those mods for Chernu and for Faroff. So it's nice.
Well, I like the double ion bomb thing too. I don't think Tomex Bren is brought for the ion bomb. I think it's because that stupid standard loadout card is pretty good.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, if you can guarantee ionization, and they did a stressful maneuver, and Rack's right there. Rack doesn't care that much about ionization. Like Rack's not super big fan of it, but Death Trooper is forcing them. Yep, you could do a blue, you could do an ion maneuver, but you sure as hell ain't getting no focus because you ain't getting rid of it. Like I don't know, like I like it because I like the caricature of the double ion bombs because I hate ion bombs with a passion. Like in CIS, a CIS player, ion bombs are like usually the death of half my list because not only do you know where I'm going to be, I can't even take effing mods, you know?
Yeah.
And you can ionize me off a rock, and it is not fun at all. And the worst though, is you can ionize me off a rock, and I have to do the maneuver, and I have to flip, and if you can block me and I sit on the rock, I then take damage and have to roll for it. I have literally lost a full health iron assembler to that because you take the hit, you had to roll a crit. What is my crit? Oh, direct hit. And there goes Iron Assembler right off that rock. So,
yep.
Doesn't happen very often.
Right? Not an asteroid.
What's that?
That was a debris, right? Not an asteroid. Because you only take damage off asteroids.
Oh, well, no, then I took the crit anyway. I thought you took the crit too. So,
that's just the debris.
All right. Well, guess Tanner just lost this Iron Assembler before for no reason. Anyway, that was. Hey, I need Alex at every one of my games so he can go, hey, that's not how that works. That's not how that works, Tanner.
Actually, so this list is very similar to what two of the top people at Crossroads, Tanazuski, and the other guy's name, who I don't remember, and I feel really bad because he was super nice.
It's Velvet Buddha.
Yes, his real name, I forgot.
And Andrew.
Yeah.
Andrew, yes. Very similar. Andrew took Procket Merrick because that's hilarious. Staniszewski took Volscaris. And on our car ride back, he's like, I think I want to swap out Volscaris for Feroff with 000. And I was like, oh. And then I saw this list and I was like, hey, turns out there's someone else that built this. Very close. He still likes Lurir over Reimer, which I don't fault him for. I think I'd still rather take Lurir. But yeah, it's really cool. The 000, most people take stress, and you have to punish them for taking the stress. And Death Troopers is how you do it in this case.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's very good. And then you can actually ruthless rack with like Feroff is a good ruthless target for rack. So that works out pretty well. I really like this list. I would actually probably fly something very similar to this in Empire if I was going to do it. And us people in Michigan love rack, so we're obliged to bring it anyways.
That is true. Well, the runner-up has a similar-ish list. Alex, I'm going to give it to you because there's a ship on there that has something you like, and I was confused other than I forgot that you get the boosting thing. And then I was like, okay, now it makes sense why they did that.
Okay, so you have Deathfire customizable with just proxy mine straight up. Just still really good, still auto damage. Kind of sucks that it's that expensive, and that's the only thing you'd bring on Deathfire, and that you can't launch it forward. They also have Major Reimer with barrage rocket, saturation salvo, and concussion bombs, which is fair and really good against like A-wings. And you're gonna get that a lot in like Rebels, so that's actually a pretty cool call. You have your rough standard Tomax here, bomblet generator, set salvo, barrage rockets. You got Juno with Prockets, which is incredible. I love me Prockets, and then you can, focus and then boost, which is great. And then Rack as well. A crazy Rack with Tua, Hondo, Dauntless, Agile Gunner, and Cluster Mines.
Yep.
Back when I ran Rack, you always put proxy mines on Rack. He's very good. People follow him to try to get out of his arc, and you just drop mines on him. Very strong. Hondo's kind of weird. I guess you can jam Deathfire if you wanted to, or Just hope your opponent is stressed or something. And 2 is good if you want to get multiple actions with Rack. Lock and then 2 doesn't really work well with Dauntless though. But it seems like a fun list. I like Prockets.
it's
I'm just
a very weird rack though, right? Like I like I guess I kind of like the Hondo call. I kind of like it. I don't know, like, because turn 1, every one of those ships can be taken to target lock, right? So you have you have, and you're a big base, for Christ's sake. So your range is pretty big to coordinate. It's a little weird not seeing Vader though, right? I don't know.
Yeah, you don't know. You know what's literally half the points of Hondo too? Just Death Troopers.
Yeah, that's true.
Like Hondo Death Troopers, I think would be more interesting than 2 Hondo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I get why they did 2 though, is because once you burn those shields on Rack and Rack becomes damaged, then you can start doing the red reinforce at the start
Still
of the
Hondo
engagement.
and then get a reinforce.
Yeah, exactly. It's just I think what ended up probably costing them the win was that this the other rack list that we covered is a hard counter to this, because if you're if you're going to boost and take a focus or a focus boost for the Procket shot onto like Rack, for instance, with Juno, that's pretty much the last action you're going to take with Juno. Like, that's it, you're done. So it's definitely, I would definitely like to see how this list does against like Han, or does against like the Padme arcs, because I think that there's a lot of tools on this list that can really give those other lists a really good run.
Yeah, I think the big issue with that rack is you just the action economy on there. You only have 3 ships that can put output, and one of those ships is only able to give output once of like a high caliber. And so with a lot of this health in the meta, I think it's really hard. And you're absolutely right. With against Padme, I bet you this list does nothing. Like,
really, I don't know. I mean, like, you can Hondo Padme that has passive sensors. You can't do anything. Like, you can only do, if your charge is inactive, you can't do any. You can't. Well, it can't be coordinated. So I'm not sure if that actually breaks it. Maybe not. I don't know. Because normally you're like, you can't take any actions because you passive censored.
mm-hmm.
But maybe I guess that prevents you from being Hondoed. So well, I don't know. Maybe weird.
So somebody should look that. It should be a rules thing. JJ, take a note. We're gonna move on, but should probably look at that. All right. Next one was out of Canada, Phoenix Rising. We had 1-4-0 and 4 3-1s, a little bit bigger. This was, I believe, in Ontario. Our very own Brendo played, and they played up in slot number 2. And I found out, I did not know. I don't know if this is T Hark Ad 1. I have no idea how to say this person's name. I know they are in a Nickel City Discord because Brendo tagged them, which I didn't know they played, and got me their list. So this one I want to go over a few more because we had a CIS showing in this list. It was a little bit different than I would have normally seen before, and I thought it was fun. This must have been an extended list tournament.
Yeah, it had to been. Yeah,
I did not know this, but it's got Ketsu, so I mean, kudos to RD or R5 Don 4. I don't know who that is either, but kudos to you, man, for bringing a 3-ship scum list and getting in the top, for that. So obviously the winner is bringing something we've kind of seen a lot of. Or I don't know. I guess I won't say a lot of, but we've seen a 4-ship. We call it 4-ship. That it's just a different Poe than we normally see. It's the better Poe. It's the Poe I like more, with somehow not adding 2 points onto him. I wish Poe had double cannon slots, because oh my god, could you imagine proton cannons on Poe? It would be so amazing. Anyway,
yeah, it would be.
Let's not do that. But we have Poe Dameron with Lone Wolf, BB-8, Ferrosphere, Overdrive, Electronic Baffle, and HLC. Not going with the droid that allows you to reduce your maneuvers and saying, screw it, I'm just going to take a damage every time to get rid of my stress. That's what I'm going to do. I don't know. If nobody shoots Poe, who cares, I guess, right? You know?
I mean, like, you can use Poe's ability on BB-8 because it's a roll or boost action.
Yeah.
So you can, like, roll and then do a 2 straight boost with overdrive thruster, which is really, really good.
And honestly, the one thing I'm actually surprised that I don't see, and I get it because the points don't let it fit, is just not seeing spare parts canisters to give another charge to BB-8, so that we can have yet another round where you can do that system phase, barrel roll or boost linked action, so that way you can like get that done early and then just clear the stress later on. I think that would be much stronger a Poe, but having Lone Wolf and Ferrosphere just makes Poe a little more defensive, I think. So, but yeah, still great list.
Yep. Then we have 9 with HLC, Pattern, R6D8, and Heroic. Lulo with Predator, Shield Upgrade, Marksmanship, and Kaz with Notorious Deadman, the title, and R1J5. I don't know. I thought that was. I think that's I like seeing people be a little bit more aggressive and taking Poe X-Wing, because we don't see that. We don't see that a lot.
We will spoilers, but
spoilers, yes.
Yeah. I like that list. I think it's pretty interesting. They probably listened to that one podcast by was it Rathos who did that one?
Yeah.
Where Chris Anthony was talking about the BB-8 Poe. I was just you're not gonna block it. You can't do anything against it. So that's cool. Like it's a good list. I love me some Lulo. So I'm glad that there's no LO either.
Yeah.
Bucking that 95% usage of LO and resistance lists.
Well, and I think in this list, you want Kaz, because you want people to say, like, if you put LO instead of Kaz in there or instead of Lulo, like, it's LO is the easy choice to go after. Like, it's a very simple choice. Going after Kaz here forces you to take strain, and Kaz gets extra dice. So you're not guaranteed to hit Kaz right away. And so I don't know. I like in the 4-ship list, I think this fits better than throwing LO in there. So I don't know. Crazy. Alex, what Ketsu, what did they bring, and why do we've never seen Peli? I don't think I've ever seen anyone run Peli. So
yeah, and I probably still wouldn't, but good on them, right? So this list is Katsu in the Lancer with Fearless, Pele, Tracking Fob, Contraband, Beskar, Reinforced Plating, and the title. So Pele lets you, during the system phase, you can do an action on your damage cards, even while you're stressed. So I guess you can, like, flip down a damage sensor ray or something. And after you repair a face-up ship damage card, you can roll a die. On a hit, you repair another face-up one, which sucks that you got a hull breach. Or if you get a crit, and on a crit, you expose one damage card because you're rolling 3 points. So there's got to be some sort of consequence there. They have Graz, my boy Graz, with Burnout Thrusters Dead Man Switch. He's the one that if you shoot at him and he doesn't roll exactly 2 dice, you get a stress. No, sorry, that is not him. He's Graz is the one that lets you shoot more dice if you're directly behind the person. I was thinking Victor. It's while you defend, if you are behind them, which is the back half of their ship, you roll additional defense dice, and when you attack, you roll additional attack die. I guess Burnout Thrusters let you get there pretty quick. And then you got Boba Fett with Maul, Contraband, and VTG. That's an interesting list. I really don't like that Katsu loadout.
It's weird to me, but I don't know.
You can bring Mando for 2 points and give yourself an actual reinforce. Would be the only large base scum ship that doesn't have reinforce.
I don't know. JJ, what did Jamie run? And it looks like we have a sync laser cannon dirge instead of proton cannons for once.
I was gonna say, yeah. So we got Pre Vizsla with Palpatine crew and Swivel Wing, DGS 047, which is the
Hold
HMP
on.
with
Can you go back to that? That's all
what?
they took on Pre-Vizsla was Palpatine.
Exactly. That's all they took. Turns out that's all you need, right? So we got DGS 047 with Hondo Naka. I gotta say, I've been playing a lot of CIS recently, and I've been loving that little droid. It's so fun. Then we got DIS 347 with Discord missiles, Indie Calcs, and Intercept Booster. And then Ballin Das with Outmaneuver, and then the Dirge with Marksmanship, Sync Laser Cannons, Contraband Cybernetics, and the Title to round off the list here. Definitely, it feels like a very good salad list, right? I mean, you got Volin and DIS in the Tri Fighters, being the only same chassis here, but it definitely feels like a nice little hodgepodge list here. That Pre Vizsla build is definitely interesting, something that I've
Yeah,
never seen
14
before.
points.
Yeah,
That's what
using
you
all
get.
14 points on one, and I mean, hey, I mean, you can guarantee a crit, I guess, right?
No,
I
because that's not what he
yeah,
does,
that's not
right?
what he does.
Oh yeah, sorry,
Is
I'm
it a purple
thinking.
coordinate?
Yeah, I'm thinking Dooku. Sorry.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, the purple coordinate. Yeah, or
Because
the
you
stress. Actually, yeah, you can stress somebody. if
It's
you
a
want
purple
to.
coordinate. Yeah, when they shoot at you, if they're 0 to 2, you can spend a stress or spend a force. They get a stress, or you can flip them for Sidious. Or after you do the purple coordinate, the ship gains a stress and a focus, or you can recover a force, but that's not applicable in this list.
Yeah, this I do not understand the Pre-Vizsla Palpatine. I like if you just need a force point, just take the 10.1 Savage.
Savage.
Like I'm
Yeah,
like I don't know, maybe they're using it to just force, people to be, like if you shoot me, I'm just going to force you to take a second stress. So guess what? But I'm telling you what, if you put 4 arcs on Pre-Vizsla, you only could give 1 stress out. That's all I'm saying.
yeah.
Because you're probably not coordinating. I don't think you're coordinating here. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but
I mean, if
do you
you
need
flip
to?
over to like Sidious pretty early, you can just coordinate like Dirge or anyone that moves after Pre-Vizsla, and they just do a blue, so they just got a free focus.
Yep, you could.
But it also feels really expensive to bring Pre Vizsla to be a coordinator.
I didn't
Like,
say it was good. I just said you can.
yeah, exactly.
I don't know. And I think the reason they bring the DIS 347, I see, and here this is again. Here we have Volin without maneuver, where we could have T81. I don't know.
I mean, it's a choice, right? You're obviously going to put Valen by himself on the flank, and then you're going to either force them to deal with Valen or deal with the rest of the list, And I mean, is it great? No,
Just take
I don't
shield and
know.
elusive, man.
Yeah,
It's right there. You get
yeah.
that recharge pretty easy if you give people stress.
But hey,
Yep.
I mean, they came in 3-1, so we got to give them props for that.
Yeah.
But still, yeah.
I don't know. Sounds like a list that we need to ask Crispy to run and tell us if how good it is. All right. Next one is from Poland, a place called The Shed. I had to do Google Translate to figure out what the name, like whatever the tournament name was, did not make any sense to me. So here we have, I don't know. So I'll go through really quickly. We basically have standard loadout Han, standard loadout Luke. Then we have the Swarm Tactics, Hera, and Bodica, standard loadout Bodica, basically. So basically everybody's I5 and 6. We've seen this list quite a bit. The next one, though, is a little bit different. JJ, oh, you just did one. Alex, what is this list? Because that's not the Han I know.
It is a roll list. It does have Han. Han does have Bistan. But he also has Swarm Tactics and Leia. That's interesting. I mean, it
It's a
works well
choice.
with like the rest of his list. Like Leia's pretty good for a B-Wing, right? So speaking of the B-Wing, he has Hera with proton cannons, plasma torps. The title that's the only exclusive to her, and weapon system officer. So after you shoot the plasma torps, you just reacquire the target lock. which is really nice for her ability.
Especially if you got a proton cannon shot coming back up, right? You just spend it, and ooh, I get a proton cannon.
Yep, and you have Dutch with Sat Salvo, Plasma Torps, Cluster Missiles, Munitions Failsafe, which is an interesting version of Dutch. I haven't seen that much. I have seen like a Cluster Missile Sat Salvo, but I haven't seen it with the Plasma Torps as well. And then you got Boy Garvin, because infinite focus between him and Hera.
Here, let me give you a focus. Let me give it back to you. You want to focus? You want to focus? Everybody gets a focus.
But only between us. Yeah, we get it forever.
It's just funny because do we ever see Garvin? What show is he in?
He was in the first movie, right?
Yeah, New Hope. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's not like in any show with Hera, right?
No.
Like I'm not crazy. Yeah, so like
Well,
why?
Yeah, no. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I didn't think he was. So like we have the synergy, but Garvin's ability, like whatever, I guess it doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, he could have been in Rogue One as well, and Hera was in there, but I mean, we don't really see. Yeah.
Okay.
I did Star Wars media. I don't know.
I know you don't know. That's why we weren't asking you.
But like Swarm Tactics, do you just Swarm Tactics Dutch first, and then you like Plasma Torp with Dutch?
I'm assuming. I'm
Hera?
assuming the answer is yes, because my assumption with this like style of list is that you are running Han in the same way Dutch, because neither one have like the most amazing dials, right? And so you could run them together for a couple of churns, because sometimes Han just wants to one bank around a rock and just double shot. But it's weird because Han's only going to have one focus. So like, I guess you have Leia for you. Well, you don't have Leia for the mod. That's right. I don't know what you're doing for a mod, right? And being able to double tap. I don't know. This list confuses me.
Focus action.
Well, I mean, Leia
could
here
also
just
pass you the focus.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say, and Leia here also just guarantees that if Han needs to do like a red maneuver to turn around and come back the same way you went, that he's gonna have a focus, right? And always have Piston active there, so you can essentially set up your lane for Han and just go back and forth as you need, and Han can just keep on taking shots, right? So you don't have to like set like a set trajectory. You could just go back and forth by an area, so it gives him that flexibility there. But beyond that, it still does feel weird to see Swarm Tactics on Han. I mean, I get he's a large base, but it's still weird. But still, 3 I6 shots, especially if you just swarm like Dutch, I would say, right? Because you can get the shot off with Han and then Hera and then Dutch with Saturation Salvo on a ship that's probably has no tokens on there.
I am
that
not
could be
Sat Salvoing my Plasma Torp, JJ. That is for the cluster missiles.
Yeah. You would never do that. Unless they never have shields, I guess, then whatever.
Well, I mean, in range as well, right? Because if you're at range 3, then you have no choice. But yeah.
All right, let's move on to Crossloads Classics in Indiana. A New Hope.
It's mislabeled as 4 instead of 6.
Are you sure? I swear to God, it's 4.
6. It's 6.
I don't like.
I was at Crossroads 4.
All right. Well, I don't believe you for now, so we'll have to look it up later.
I don't believe for now.
maybe you'll prove here. I'll move it off the screen. There you go. Now you don't have to see it. So obviously we had quite a few Galactic Republic lists. They actually were more so than Rebel lists. Not very many Empire lists, but Empire doing very, very well in the cut. Making cut with more of them. Obviously, also the Republic lists are still up there. They're over like at 60%, performance value. So even though there was a lot of Republic performed very well. This turnaround
Quarter of the field was Republic.
Yep. Republic or Rebels and Resistance both at normal. CIS down in the toilet. FO and Scum kind of floating in between there. As you can see, I guess we don't really have to worry too much, but essentially the top pilots flown minus. We'll just get rid of Luke because nobody cares about Luke being up there. Oddball and Jag being the top. Wolf coming in just after that. Then we had Temin, Padme, and Anakin. So hence why we were originally going to do a meta-analysis on Resistance, but I switched it to Republic since this tournament obviously shows there is quite a bit of viability with Republic in the whatever you want to call it in the meta right now. So as you can see, we had a top cut of 8. Alex said there's 49 people total that ran in this. They did a top cut of 8. We have Alex making it in at 8 at a 4-1. We had one draw. I don't know why if why they drew if he was just gonna drop.
They didn't feel
But
like playing the game, and
yeah,
I guess
just
the
give,
guy didn't feel like conceding. I don't know.
just give it to Stanny there. Let's give it to Stanny. Either which way, I don't think it matters. Stanny and him, the draw makes sense when they were 4-0 for the day. Only one 5-1 list or 5-0 list that made it. I can't remember this gentleman's name off the top of my head. There you go. Thank you. So, Alex, you want to cover the winners list that was a resistance list over a rebel list, and it looks like resistance has definitely taken the field again a little bit there.
Yeah, so the winner was Biophysical, who's probably one of the best players on the board. There is an X-Wing. He's very, very good. He beat my local Josh, who still has not put his affiliation of Bespin Benchwarmers in his tag, and it kills me because he's doing well. And I'm just like, Josh, no, come on.
Clicking buttons is hard. Come on.
Yeah, but Bio's list is very interesting. I like it a lot. It has HOH Poe, 6-point Poe, which has Plasma Torps, R2D2, Ferrosphere, Marksmanship, and Crackshot. It's got Elo with Predator, Crackshot, and Jamming Beam because you have 1 point. Snap Wexley with R68, Crackshot, and also Jamming Beam. Jess Pava with M9G8, Baffle. And then BB8 with Chewbacca. Because I guess he wants to be aggressive with the crits more so than wants BB8 to live. But I also didn't win Crossroads, so who knows what I'm talking about. I like the HOH Poe. I've always liked him. I like him a lot with Overdrive Thruster, which he doesn't have on there, because that focus 2-length barrel roll is really, really good. And you don't need Poe's ability to do so, because you just link it. I think having a 6-point Poe is pretty worth it when you can bump up a 3-pointer like Merle or one of the Y-Wings to an actual piece like Just Papa or Snap Wexley. And he flies incredibly well, and triple crack shot. I believe he M9G8'd Elo. And yeah, he just crushed everyone. It was really cool. He's a good dude too.
Yeah, it's a little weird not seeing Lulo in this list, right? You know, like, but I do like the addition of the 6-point Poe, because Poe's still a threat no matter what, and you either have to spend your time focus firing him down, and you're not going to be guaranteed to do that unless you are the same initiative and get to go second. So, I agree with you. I like the overdrive thrusters, but I think the question becomes is you can't take overdrive thrusters, you know, if you're going to take R2D2, right? Because Poe does have has the slots for it, but R2. So the question becomes: is R2D2 just that much better for Poe for shield regeneration, than overdrive thrusters? You know,
the way he played it, it seemed like he used it fairly effectively. Just mostly just to get the shield back and just keep Poe alive. It's very kind of a 1.0 mentality. You know, you slap Ferrosphere to discourage him from shooting him. You put the regen on him so he doesn't die, kind of thing. And his one loss was actually to a Padme triple arc list. So it was interesting how that came about. I believe the third round was salvage. So that's kind of interesting.
all right. The runner-up, JJ. What did Josh, or does he like Joshua? I don't know whether he
Just
prefers
Josh.
Josh or Joshua. But what did Josh run? And looks like we've already seen a lot of this before.
Yeah, it's pretty standard Rebel fares. We got Han Solo with Perceptive Co-Pilot, Chopper, Bistan, engine upgrade in the title. Battle Yavin Luke, Fen Rao with Predator, Crackshot, Man Beskar plating, and then Keo Benzi with Lone Wolf and concussion missiles. Pretty much what we've been seeing across the board for the standard here for the Rebels. Still a very solid list, still doing very well in tournaments, and we'll continue to see this until the next point change. So.
Josh texted me saying he's going to try a non-Bistan Han soon because he's been running Han forever.
Yeah, I've been seeing a couple of Kanan Jarrus Hans showing up there.
Old school
Yeah.
Han.
Yeah, old school. Yep.
All right. Then our other top 4 list, we have standard loadout Hans, standard loadout Luke, Keel with Prockets, because that's what JJ loves. Marksmanship, Crackshot, Wedge, which I kind of like the Crackshot Marksmanship better than the Predator version. I think Predator is probably more useful in the long run, outside of the fact that if you get that Crackshot off, like with Wedge, I mean that's like, hey, you want 2 green dice? No, you can have 1. Oh, and I'm gonna tell you that 1 dice you rolled doesn't. Don't spend your focus. I'm just gonna screw you over. Just pick what you want. You know.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
list is a little bit weak in like salvage, but having a Crackshot Marksmanship really helps in salvage.
Yeah.
Just to push the crit through, especially on Wedge.
And then we have standard loadout Sabine as well.
And that
Then-
Keo killed my Afra.
Oh
I
yeah.
had 4 health left with the reinforced, and he's just like, yeah, I'm gonna roll 3 hits and 2 focuses. So, and then I did not roll an evade, so Afra blew up.
Oh my gosh, that's gross.
I love it. I love Rocket Keo.
All right. So, I mean, let's just be fair here, though, Alex. That feels like just desserts because you are so pro Prockets to lose your Afra to a Procket shot. Chef's kiss.
Oh, I looked at Zach, and I'm just like, my Afra has 1 damage. You are going to kill her this round because that's how my life is. And then he did. Just, 11 damage to the Afra in 1 round, like 4 shots.
Well, Afra she didn't come back here. Anyway,
she got more points blowing up than she did shooting people. That was funny.
The next one is from a friend of the league, Velvet Buddha, Mr. Andrew. Alex, what did Andrew run?
So we're having that very common rack that we see: Vader, Death Troopers, Dauntless, Agile Gunner, Ruthless Baffle, and then Procket, Merrick with Ruthless Marksmanship, standard loadout Tomax, standard loadout Deathfire, and then Lone Wolf targeting computer Laurier. There was slight conspiracy with him and Ryan, but he thought Procket Merrick is hilarious and more fun than Volscaris, which I agree. He is more fun than Volscaris.
Yeah, and you get with the marksmanship, you're getting that if you get the Procket off, you're getting that fucking marksmanship going there too,
I believe he shot Stanny with a Procket and got 4 blanks and 1 crit. And then Ryan just dodged it, which was very tragic. Yeah, that Alex Procket.
Yeah. I like it. I do like that. Merrick, that's a spicy Merrick build right there. Yeah. That's what that is. That's spicy Merrick build. All right, let's move on to Staniszewski's list. JJ, what did Stanny run?
So we got another Empire list here. So we got Rack with Dauntless title, Baffle, Gunner, Agile Gunner, Death Troopers, Darth Vader crew, and Ruthless, followed by Volscaris with Shield Upgrade and Ruthless. This is the TIE Interceptor Volscaris. Then we got Tomex Bren. This is the standard loadout version with True Grid Plasmas and Ion Bombs. Lieutenant Laurier with Lone Wolf and Targeting Computer, and then the standard loadout Deathfire with the Swift Approach, Counter Nets, and Proton Bombs to round off the list there. Very solid list there. I definitely like the Volscaris, and in this list, he feels. I feel like he could have the potential to to be a very big piece in the Empire, especially if he gets help early on to help activate his ability. Just being able to arc dodge, at the start of an engagement is pretty huge. If you can link that into like a
His
preposition.
engagement, not
Yeah,
start of engagement. That's
yeah,
huge.
yeah. So it's definitely very strong. So I but still, really great list here. Can definitely put out a lot of damage. It's great.
Ooh, let me talk about this list.
All right. Is it so? I gotta ask a question. Is this Will? Is this Will from Nickel City League?
What's his last name?
Will Scott?
Yeah.
I
Yes,
think
I believe so.
so.
Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah.
Was he a really happy-go-lucky guy
didn't-
that wore a
Yes.
Nickel City hat?
I didn't see this guy. I
Oh,
didn't.
okay. Because
But
I
yes,
know
I'm
who
pretty
Will
sure that's
Scott
him.
is, but
Yeah, that
he
sounds about right.
okay. Because if with Nick coming down, that's kind of when I wondered if this was our buddy from over there.
So this is an incredible list. I would love other people to run this because they don't have the skill to play it. Because this list is bonkers. So it has customizable Anakin Ida with Malice, Predator, HLC, R4 targeting computer, which is like a weird list of anti-synergistic upgrades. You have Plo Koon with Brilliant Evasion, Debris Gambit, Chopper, and CLT. Patience, man. Patience is so good on Plo. Then you have Oddball and Wolf, both SOC. And then you have Slider with Dedicated. And it's interesting. I want to see. I wish I saw any of his games because that's such an awkward list to fly. But Plo Koon can pass off focuses if need be. Also, that Chopper Debris Gambit, known quantity, just getting a evade, which Plo Koon could also pass for force if need be as well, which is really cool. Typically, you see like Audi Galia with just Debris Chopper, but Plo Koon has a couple extra points there. I'm still not convinced of Brilliant Evasion. But yeah, it's a cool list. I don't think I'd be able to fly that well. But it's cool.
Yeah, I like it. I think the question becomes I'm a little confused on the HLC being on there versus the Predator because you don't need both because you can't use Predator and HLC together. So
yeah, and Malice just takes its crit and puts it back to a hit with HLC as well.
Yeah,
but I assume it's for range 1.
Or range 1,
or if you need to push through crits.
Yeah, if it's a crate dropping type thing, and I don't know. I think Malice is an okay choice per se if you are doing it. I mean, I will say like Zach from our locals has been running Anakin, and he's pretty damn good getting that bullseye off when Anakin doesn't have a crate. So,
and this Anakin is different ability than the SOC one. Remember that because it's customizable Anakin. That's the one where after he or Obi-Wan executes a maneuver, which is not fully execute because I don't know why. Just execute a maneuver. If there's more enemy ships than friendly ships, you can spend a force. There's more enemy ships at 0 to 1, you can spend a force to discard a red token. So
it's a force-starved Anakin is what you're telling me.
Well, not necessarily, because you're not doing a lot of red, and also you have R4 Astromech. So it's
yeah, and I think that's where Malice kind of works out, right? Anakin is gonna target like the more like ships with less shields.
I don't think Anakin is using his ability.
Yeah, no, I meant Malice for Malice.
Yeah.
In order to like regen those forces for like everything that he uses during the system phase, or like getting the evade and stuff, you can, or his ability, just targeting those ships that you have a greater chance of popping, the crits in order to regen your force. That's probably the opportunity that Anakin takes. If not, he's happy taking those range 3 shots with HLC and just relying on the force or focus to get those damages in until he can like start getting close in with range 1 bullseye and have Malice and Predator to do some real damage. So
You know what is pretty cool? Poe getting a free evade, passing it over to Oddball and Wolf, and then they can born for that evade to whoever needs it.
yeah, that's really good.
Yeah. I love Plo. I don't think he's good right now, but he's fun.
I don't know. I mean,
he's a
top
great
6,
support piece.
right?
He's a
So
great support piece.
yeah.
Yeah,
I also
and-
know Will has been running Republic for like 2 years nonstop. So that's like his jam right there. So, all right, let's move on to the next one. This is a pretty easy one. It is standard loadout Luke, standard loadout Keo, standard loadout Fen, and standard loadout Han. Let's move on because we've seen all these ships a million times over. Alex, yours is the next list. I don't know. Go ahead and quickly go over it. We just went over this last week.
We went over it last week, yeah.
Yes, we can skip it. Let's just skip it. That's fine. There you go. If you haven't listened to the show, last week we covered this with detail on how to play the stupid list and what defeats it. So if you want to do that, go back and listen to episode 119. I would say the 35 to 40-minute mark. Alex will give you an explanation of what this is.
I can tell you what I played.
Sure, go ahead. Tell us what you
up
played.
there. Yeah, I mean, that scum list is built to counter a lot of things in the meta. It's not particularly great in chance, but everything else it does pretty well in, and it hits far above. It's very unassuming. It hits really hard. So I try to joust things, and then people are like, "Yeah, that's a stupid scum list," and then they joust it, and then they don't do well. I had first round was actually a loss to James. Pretty good guy. I think he came in like 15th or something like that. He's really good. He went 3-2. You can watch me just get absolutely destroyed on stream. That's always fun. At 3-1-2. My second round opponent was like a rebel alpha, and he jousted me, so I jousted him. And he had Corn Horn, and that's really funny for my list because I just pulled off his locks that he wanted to pass over to force him to reroll dice with Lima. And then he held on to another lock with Corin, so I pulled that off to roll 4 dice with Manaru, who was a champ by taking a plasma and 2 Protorp shops, and then another shot before dying. So that was super fun. My third round opponent was Sean from Grand Rapids. That was a salvage match. I had a good beginning, an okay middle, and Bosk clutched out with no tokens and just survived 3 shots on 3 health, which was cool. That's won me the game. Also, he blew up his own Rick Ali, though, because he decided to keep shooting Afra, and then Afra exploded, and Rick Ali was in 1 health. So that didn't work out well for him either. But that was fun. My fourth round opponent was Tommy Adams, who I yelled at for not putting targeting computer on BB-8 because he didn't think BB-8 had a mod slot. Don't know why. But he had a BB-8, Shaza, Jess Pava, Snap Waxley, and Ray, which sounds like a list that I would fly in Resistance. But I looked at him, I'm like, hey, Ray and T70s, I'll joust that too. Why not? Opening engagement, I looked at BB-8. I'm like, you jammed Afra because he wanted to start my Babu charges going. So BB-8 is stressed and has no tokens. So I'm just like, I'm going to shoot a plasma torp at that. I have no problem blowing munitions on small ships. So then he rolled 2 evades, and I told him no, too bad. Told him to re-roll it, and then he got 1 shot because he didn't roll any evades after that. So he just 1-shot BB-8. Cad Bane solo Jess Pava because Jess Pava only rolled focuses or blanks. So it was like 2 shots. Cad Bane killed off Jess. And then Ray was just bump trapped until Aphra died and blew up everything around it. And I disrespectfully reloaded my 2 plasma torps at the end of the game. Because I could. I shot
Oh
both
my
plasma
God.
torps and I reloaded both of them. No, we had a great game. He apparently listens like Bespin, so he like heard my list and he's just like, I know I can't joust this. But then like I invited him to joust it and then he did. And then he lost 29-11, which is embarrassing. I think he put it on a Facebook post. It was hilarious. My last opponent for that day was a man. His name was Scott, but I don't know anything else. He had Padme triple arc. So I'm like, cool. Just joust me. And then he did. The first turn was be 5 straight boosting with Cad and then shooting a proton cannon at Jag. And Padme never got Protorps off or her ability ever. And I wasted a ship every round until they all died. That one fortunately was Assault. One against Tommy Adams was Assault. The 5th round back-to-back, same scenario, which is kind of cool. Because Assault's like my best scenario. And then I played Zach Matthews in top 8. And that was chance engagements against a 5-ship Han list. And that is not what my list wants to do. It punts to that list, and then it did. 22-12, and that's because I scored like 4 points in the last round.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. He was apparently very nervous going the matchup, and I'm like, no, dude, you are going to wreck me. You can also watch it on 312 podcast. Watch me get absolutely demolished as well on stream again.
Yeah, you can see where you started to get a little upset too. Like it's kind of funny because like you have specific mannerisms sometimes, and maybe it's just because I like we've been to enough tournaments together. But there's like you could tell when you could tell Alex mannerisms when Alex is getting frustrated. Yeah, like at what's going on. Like I don't know if your dice. I mean your dice. I don't know. Whatever. I hate blaming dice. I hate blaming dice for any of that type of stuff. But I don't think that was a good matchup for you. So
no, I knew I was gonna get just demolished. The fun fact: he never halved any of my ships. He just outright killed them.
Yeah, I know. You didn't have to. You didn't have to worry about that. All right. Well, let's move on to the next. I skipped the other top list because it was a Padme list, and I'm whatever. We don't need to keep going over the same thing everybody's running all the time. So the next list is a scum list with Sarisu with proton torpedoes, which I'm not sold on proton Sarisu. I know why people like it. It's not for me. And then Daze has Pre-Vizsla. Like, what does Pre-Vizsla crew do? Because I don't know.
Yeah, I'm totally lost. I got to look that up.
No, yeah. So Pre-Vizsla is 9 points, and it adds a coordinate. And then while you perform a coordinate action, you could choose a friendly crew remote instead of a friendly ship. And instead of performing an action, that ship relocates with a 1 hard or 2 straight, which is just objectively worse than like Gleb.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, did they just not like they couldn't decide what crew they put on, and they're like, okay, pre-fills everything.
So
Sure.
white coordinate for...
Wait. We could run Ahsoka. We could run Ahsoka right here, and
exactly.
You get the coordinate. I whatever. Anyway, whatever.
Yes. This list, I believe, went 3 and... Oh, I guess we can finish
3 and 2.
Day.
Yeah. Then you got you got Dace with Contraband, Moldy Crow, Standard Loadout, Scum Lebo, and Fen Rao. So it's a 4 ship list, and Fen Rao with Cutthroat, which
Cutlet.
I'm a little confused why we have Cutthroat on here. Fearless, Mando Optics, and Beskar Platy. I guess you can recharge Bando or Beskar, right? With Cutthroat if something dies. So I guess it's not the end of the world. It is only 2 points, right?
Right. You can also remove an orange or red token, so you can get rid of the stress
All right.
if the situation, is better for that than reloading optics.
But does Cutthroat work on any ship or just friendlies, right?
It is friendly ships.
Yeah. You got 3 other ships. And I don't know if you want any of those 3 ships to die.
I mean, they're
unless-
going to die though.
Yeah.
Like,
I guess. I don't know.
Just
like-
send Dace up the middle, and that's it.
So Fen is 6, Lebo is 6, so that's 12 points. Surisu must be 4,
Yeah, seriously. it's
4
four.
and
Mhm.
and Dace
also
is 4.
Again, very difficult to build in Scum. But he
Yeah.
went 3 and 2, but he was 2 and 2, and his opponent never showed up to the table.
Yeah.
And I
So-
believe, speaking with him, he wants to remove Lebo from the list. He thought it was fun, but he's kind of over not having a good 6-point ship.
Yeah, honestly, I would do like the Mandalorian or Afra, and for those 6 points.
Yeah, for all the way.
All
I
right.
mean, Dengar is also semi-viable as well.
Yeah.
So long as it's not Han Solo, you're pretty good.
So JJ, what's the next list? So these lists didn't make cut, but these lists I just kind of found a little bit more unique and thought they might be fun to cover. JJ, what did Stuart Coyle run?
So I think this ranks on your number 3 most hated pilots. Caleb Gadali with marksmanship, Lando Calrissian, false transponder codes, and Multicode title. And if you're not familiar or haven't heard that name in a while, Caleb is that scum HWK that can steal focus tokens from enemy ships.
Or
and
evade
its arc.
tokens.
Or evade
Focus or
tokens, that's
evades.
right. At range 0 to 2 in its arc, and since it has Moldy Crow, it has an active front arc and a turret arc as well. So basically 180 degrees of stealing your tokens. You got Bosk with marksmanship and expert handling, Lapin which is the TIE fighter,
Lappin.
with March Stable Closure, HLC, and targeting computer. That's a great combo. Cad Bane with Cutthroat, Ion Cannon, Xanadu Blood, and 000. And then Fen Rao and the Fang Fighter with marksmanship, Mando Optics,
Okay.
and Shield upgrade.
Hold on. I gotta ask. I apologize, but why do I have Cutthroat on Cad Bane here? What am I? You're getting rid of
token.
Yeah, get rid of a red token. Yeah.
But you get rid of a red token anyway.
Yeah, every other turn though.
All right. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to bring marksmanship,
Or
like
eliminate
electronic baffle or
Yeah.
dead man switch.
Yeah.
Because all those upgrades are no fun, and I'd rather bring Cutthroat.
I mean, hey, props to Stuart. Make it 3 and 2 with this.
And top half of the field.
Yep. And I will say yes, Paylob is probably not my number 3 hated ship, but yes, I would be very upset playing against Paylob, though it only really affects Xana in my list because my list never has focus or evade tokens except I guess T81. There you go. Oh, there goes my camera.
Also, the list had Fen Rao with shield upgrade, Mando Optics, and marksmanship. But Lappin with HLC is kind of interesting because that's an I3 mining guild tie. And Ion Cannon fits. You just don't get the targeting computer.
I would rather have the Ion Cannon than the HLC with Lappin. But Alex, what did Rebel Rogue run? And do we see a ship that I don't think I've ever seen anybody table before?
I walked past this list and I'm just like, oh, hey, I remember that. And then continued walking. So this is like a 2.0 list here. You have Snap Wexley with R6D8 and Pattern Analyzer. You have Greer Sono with Heroic and Optics. Greer is after you execute a maneuver, you can rotate your turret for free. It's a turret. It's a rotate action. Oh, wait. Or maybe is it not? This is going from memory because I haven't flown Greer in a long time. No, it is rotate. It's not a rotate action. So super useful. More time on target than any other A-Wing. Probably wouldn't pay the 4 points for it right now. but it's a solid. I don't know. There's so many good 4-point pilots in Resistance. And one of them is Zori, which you also brought with Dorsal, Wartime Plasma Torps R4. That's your most common Zori you'll see. Brought my girl Tally with heroic marksmanship trick shot optics. And then Ello with M9G8 and Predator. It's
a choice. I don't understand how to fly this.
I
list.
don't understand where most of your offense is coming from.
Hopes and wishes.
Yeah, but like those A-Wings are getting 2 hits. Zori has a Plasma Torp, and Snap and Ello have 3 dice.
I mean, it feels like this is more of an objective play list, more than like a kill list, because you got Greer Cernel, just being able to zoom across the board and contest objectives and just keeping that rear arc if you need to. It feels like you're probably putting more stock in the speed of the list, to go and contest and block objectives and block who you need to and get shots of opportunity, and then you can run away. So I mean, I think that's how you would probably play that list. You're not necessarily trying to murder entire lists. You're probably just going after 1 or 2 key ships and then just go playing objectives the rest of the way.
So when you play Chance, what do you do?
Half points and run.
I mean, like Greer, if Greer was 3 points, people would fly Greer because that's a solid 3-point ship. Don't even have to give me like heroic optics. You can give me like 4 points like Merle does. I love Greer, but not right now. I think Resistance has something absurd like 20 something 4-point pilots. So that's a tough choice to dig that deep to bring in Greer.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, the next list that we have, and we got to keep moving here, is Oddball. So this is a list. This is Sean. Actually, this is Sean. I didn't even realize this. All right, so Sean's running Oddball, SOC, but not SOC Wolf. He instead has Expert Handling, R4P, and VTG. Mace Windu 7B, which I don't know why he ran that, because he needs... Sean, if you're listening, I want to know how many times Mace Windu died, because every time Sean and I play, his Mace Windu dies. Every time. It's forecasted. And he, it doesn't matter whether he tries to be Keiju, I kill Mace every time. I don't know why I kill Mace, because I don't even hate Mace that much, to be honest with you. But he ran Mace with Heightened Perception, R4P17. Rick Olay with Plasmas, Lone Wolf, Marksmanship, and R2C4, which I believe is the droid that lets you spend the evade to like a focus token, or a calculate token.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, like a calc. Yeah.
And then we have Build Your Own Contrail with Besh Seismic, R4A7. I'm sorry, R7A7, and Expert Handling. Which that's the Expert Handling is definitely a little bit different of a choice. I don't know how often you barrel roll with Contrail, but
there's times that I wish I barrel roll the Contrail, but it's still red, so I do it anyways, right? Like, I don't know. He didn't use it in our game, but also Contrail's carrying a crate, so he couldn't anyways, even if he wanted to. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that will conclude our pattern analyzer segment for tonight. Definitely we have a few more. There's a Germany one, another UK one that I want to do, and then a Florida one, but we'll save those to next week, because I really am excited to get into our Republic discussion for list analysis of the meta. Welcome to our Academy 1 Republic breakdown. In this Academy 101, we will be covering Republic list building. Essentially, what is the meta list? What are their staples? And how can you deconstruct it? We want to review strengths and weaknesses, kind of how you do obstacle placement, how to fly each one of the different lists, and then discuss objective play and maybe how to counter it. Now, I chose Republic specifically because there was so much bloody Republic going on, and I don't think it's going to stop because of the Han stuff. So a lot of people think this Padme arc list is a big counter to Han because that's what I can't remember the gentleman's name, but that's what the gentleman Paul Heaver was making a big thing. That's why he built that list specifically that we hadn't seen. So I felt, well, while I'm not 100% in agreement that this is a Han counter specifically, I will say it does affect the Han list to some extent, except for if you're not in Padme's arc. So if you can get away from Padme's arc, which is easy to do, the list then just kind of becomes more of an Alpha Strikey style list. Now, I felt it was like something that I wanted to do tonight over the Resistance because I think there's some more nuance in Resistance than we have given them credit for. And I think there's a lot more Resistance discussion to be had than I felt up to for tonight. So we are going to go to our Republic section. I will say I added a Republic list, and you can laugh and make fun of me all you want. I don't care. But I added one that I felt was is a decent list that may not 100% always show up in the meta, but I think it shows up or could show up more. Now, this is the very standard basic build, and I think one of the discussions I think we need to have is whether you take custom build Wolf over SOC Wolf, and in this specific list. So I think we need to add that as a discussion point because I think people are just used to, hey, like this list is very easy to take for a new player to pick up and take the minimal amount of cards, right? You're taking very few cards. There is gimmicks in this list that you will not get as a newer player, but I do think that this list is something that is designed by AMG to some extent to help new players kind of get into the game. So, who wants to take this list and run it down for us?
I'll do it.
Okay, JJ, by all means.
All right. So we got we'll start off with Anakin, the Siege Coruscant version with Malice, the ancillary ion weapons, and R2D2 astromech. We got Padme Amidala with marksmanship, passive sensors, and proton torpedoes. Siege of Coruscant Wolf, Jag, and Oddball to round off the list there. So essentially, you got three very, very chunky ships in the Arc 170s with Wolf, Jag, and Oddball that can essentially be those jousting blocks that go down the lane that they're designated to help gum up and shoot down anything that crosses its path. They work very, very well together because they can provide each other with the necessary tokens that they need on offense for each ship to use to get pretty much like double modded shots and such. So if you're not familiar with their abilities, Oddball, after he performs a red action, or performs a red maneuver, he can select an enemy ship at range 0-1 and a friendly ship at range 0-3 and allow that ship to gain a target lock on that enemy ship. So you can set yourself up with a lock to be double modded after you perform like a bump red focus with Oddball. And if you don't use that target lock, you can Wolf can use that target lock. Or if you do use it and you're in the side arc of Jag, Jag can grab a target lock onto that ship, and then Wolf, if he has that ship in his arc, can use that target lock that Jag acquired. And then if Wolf is also in Jag's side arc, then after he shoots, Jag can reacquire lock onto the same ship, and that just creates that energy bubble that makes him very, very efficient on offense. Now, what made its prominence with Paul Heaver is Padme's ability. If Padme has the attacker in her arc, they cannot mod more than one focus during their attack, and that makes it really difficult for ships that rely on those multiple mods, namely Han, to reliably convert those focused results into hits. And that's mainly why Padme was introduced into this particular archetype. But you also add in that passive sensors, which allows Padme to acquire lock during her initiative and then shoot those proton torpedoes, most likely after when those arcs already like soften up a target. You want Padme to go in there to deliver that punishing blow with proton torpedoes. And then Anakin Skywalker is that initiative 6. Probably not going to be contributing as heavy to the offense as the rest of the list is, but with the ancillary ion weapons, you can use Malice to change a hit into a crit, and if it does go through, you can potentially knock out somebody's target lock on one of these arcs, and it just helps keep those ships alive defensively on there. So that's the basic synergy for this list.
Yeah, I mean, it the big part about it comes from arcs are pretty chunky. They're 3 attack out the front, 2 out the back. All of them can shoot front back, and just that target lock sharing, like like you said, oddball. Even if you don't get the ability, you get your side arc a Jag. You shoot, Jag gets a lock. Wolf shoots, he spends Jag's lock. If he's the side, Jag gets another lock. So it's like that, just triangle. And that bump focus with oddball is huge. You can set up Padme if Padme's close and you don't need the passive. If they have like a lower initiative ship or something, if you bump them, you can just pass the lock to Padme, and Padme can just shoot a focused target locked Pro Torp. Anakin is very good for the objectives. He is a nice 6, so taking a scramble action is pretty good. You got 3 force. Worst comes to worst, if you have an arc around you, you have Born for this. Also, Born for this really helps keep Padme alive for when her passive sensors is active. So if they do start trying to burn down Padme, you can have that at most 3 focus tokens from your arcs. So that really helps with the defense. I think the main strength of this list is that it's hard to burn down arcs fast enough in 3 of the objectives. And if you do, it's only 4 points. And in chance you half them, that's like 5 damage, right? And you get 2 points out of it. And they're going to be shooting back at you with 3 dice. And if you surround them, they're shooting 2 of your ships now. So it's just a very balanced list. It has been like quote unquote underperforming, I guess, against Han. It's not a silver bullet to a Han list.
No.
And this list is very difficult to play at a high level, and especially if your opponent knows what they're doing with turn 0 rock placement. But you can get away with just straight jousting things with arcs. That works for some lists. So that's why it's like by far the most popular Republic list. And to answer your question earlier, Tanner, you bring SOC Wolf in this kind of list over customizable Wolf just because Jag is just reoccurring that target lock the whole time.
Yeah,
So you're
and you
getting
get the
more
wolf
mods.
pack, right?
Yes. Yeah. And Born for this, again, keeping like Padme alive, or maybe any of your other arcs that shot the focus, because arcs, they care that they have a strain, but it's 1 die or 0 dice, right? It's not like the biggest.
They only care so much because, as I explained last week, you can focus fire on a arc and not be guaranteed to murder it, even in 2 turns. Sometimes it takes too long to kill an arc. And I think, we talk about how many churns and how much point value do you have to get out of your arcs. Well, if 3 ships spend 3 churns shooting 1 arc to kill it, you've now wasted more than a quarter of the game murdering 4 points. And that's, like when we talk about the Han list, right? Like Han is really good because it's I6. It can double tap. Han's decently maneuverable. Though where Han wants to be by rock placement. And I think this list gives you some more versatility to it. And if you are really good at aces, like this list is great for. I know only one's an ace player, but this is a great list for an ace player because you can use the one ship as an ace and everything else as a hammer. Um, for it, and I think again that kind of talks about what is the strategy. Do you always run Padme with the arcs? Can you run Padme as on the side and then kind of use her as a pincer of some sort? Do you always want to run in a standard block with this list? You know,
Yeah, I think that if you're a player that wants to get the maximum out of this particular list with Padme, this is one of those. These are one of those lists where you want to deploy Padme, like offset from the arc block, so that way you can give her enough space to come in, for when you're planning to set up the initial engagement, and coming in from like another vector, so that way she can potentially be modded with an evade token, in the event that your opponent decides to turn all the attention into Padme, or if you're just within in range to get a proton torpedo off, you can just use that passive sensors in there. You don't want to set up Padme right next to the Oryx, mainly because you're going to run into an issue when it comes to turning, because that is the hardest part about this list is learning how to stagger the arcs, so that way you can create kind of like a step ladder formation, and that way they can all either turn in hard, or gradually turn in with banks, and keep time on target that way. Now, if you're countering this list here, like Alex said, setting up the turn zero is very very key, right? Because you want to set up a good cluster of rocks, towards like creating like a line where they have to sift out and like spread out, so that way they're not all have the same arcs on target. And if you're able to do that, you're able to really focus fire down these arc 170s and burn them down, especially if you happen to catch one outside of the arc of Padme. um, you're able to really focus all your efforts going in there. The other part of it too is don't be afraid to go against Padme Amidala. She can definitely mess up your offense with her ability. But at the same time, if you roll blanks, or if you roll natural hits or crits, then you don't have to worry about it. And I can tell you, as a person who's been testing out Padme Amidala pretty extensively these last few weeks, for Nickel City League, I can tell you that a lot of times people just get around Padme by just rolling good, and not having to worry too much about the focuses on there. And she can burn down fairly easy, especially if she did not do the three straight or the four straight to properly like get her full token there. So,
you know what
but yeah,
Padme hates? Padme hates rogues. Good
yes,
rolling rogues.
oh
That's what
yeah,
she hates.
oh yeah. Yeah, honestly, for me, I've kind of gone away from using Jag and turned to Luminara, so that way I
What?
can, yeah, because you can, when an attacker is attacking one of your friendlies, you can use Luminara that they don't have their target in the bullseye, and turn down one of their hits into a focus. So you can aggressively proc Padme's ability a lot more. And then I have Juke on Padme so that we can do it on offense as well. And it's been working pretty good. I actually prefer that to really make Padme work, over Jag. Honestly, but that's me. That's my preference. So
Yeah, Padme's ability doesn't come up too much, but you can force it to come up with someone
yeah,
like Lumi and Juke,
yeah,
and that's why
hmm
it's good.
yeah.
All right. So with this list, obstacle placement is very imperative. So if you get to go first, are you in this list? Do you want to be first player or second player for turn zero?
You want to be second player for turn zero. The reason being is that you can see where your opponent's going to place that first rock, and make sure that the rocks, the largest rocks that they're going to place, is going to be on the far end as much as possible. And then after you do that, you can see where they deploy their ships, and then that way you can counter deploy in the right area and set your ships up so that way they can come in on, and have a path to joust the more effective way. And don't be afraid to split up the arcs in the beginning on turn zero, especially if you can find multiple paths for them to converge on a vector. So that way they can set up the jousting blocks. You just gotta make sure that whenever you're dialing in the maneuvers for that arc that's offset, that you account for the amount of space that they have to cover in order to catch up for those straight jousting arc 170s, and kind of slow down those arc 170s, and so that way the flanking one can catch up and get shots in on the same time.
Alex, any other thoughts on turn zero?
There's a pretty easy, not like easy, but if you know a way to block like the convergence of arcs, this list gets significantly more difficult to pilot. Um, I can't explain it because like we don't have like visuals or anything, and it's very convoluted. But there's ways like where you just kind of you can't shimmy a couple arcs through this area, and that's really devastating to this kind of list. You have to be very good at flying 3 different initiative arc medium base ships, and that's kind of the difficult part. So turn zero is pretty important, but if your opponent doesn't know how to do that, things get a lot easier because you can kind of spread out those obstacles, bring some smaller ones, and have your arcs actually do a lot of work.
So, and really, we talk about objective placement with this list. So, like, obviously, are you picking up crates with this list? Do you want to pick up crates? Do you really like assault is pretty easy if you can get some objectives in your cluster formation of where you're going to fly. And I think it's very telltale with this list. Like, this list is very, if you put a block of 3 together, we know where your arcs are going to be. We just know, like, we know you're going to go there, and then obstacles are going to come in to, block you. So the question is there a way to kind of fool your opponent maybe a little bit with obstacle placement?
For like objectives?
Yes. Sorry. Objective placement. I apologize. That's what I meant.
Like assault, you have the advantage because you have 3 medium base ships.
Yeah.
So you want to maybe put a rock that's a little bit offset so they can't put exactly between 2 objectives. And if you're going against it, you want to spread out your objectives to like a 2.5 kind of, or like a 2.5 kind of range from the center instead of directly at like 2, just to kind of push it out a little bit. Especially if you have large bases. Large bases will make both those objectives, but medium ones won't. But yeah, like assault, you have the advantage going to assault unless you're going like against a lot of large base ships, and that's not too big of a thing in this meta. But for like salvage, like Jag has no problem picking it up just because he gets locks. All your arcs can share focuses too, so really you can pick them up. You probably drop them more because they're 1 agility, but you can like pick it up and not worry too much about action efficiency. You probably aren't getting 1 rounded off the board. And depending on how you play Padme, if you don't boost with her a lot or barrel with her a lot, she's not too bad of a crate carrier. Worst comes to worst, she can 5 straight get an evade and focus. I mean, I guess same with Anakin with the force and evades, but it's pretty. It's okay in salvage. Probably a little bit better than average. Great at assault. Scramble. You have Anakin, so that helps a little bit. And again, your actions aren't the most. Like you can get away with 1 arc hitting the button. So It's
Yeah,
a
and
solid all-around objective list. And we already
and
talked about chance, right? Because that's
yeah,
bonkers.
and the other part too for scramble too is that since they're medium bases, you can essentially set yourself up to block your opponent from claiming those objectives, especially with like Jag. He's really good at initiative 3, just going into the area where an objective is and just setting up a block to prevent your opponent from claiming that particular scramble. So yeah.
All right. Anything else about this list, or shall we move on to the next one?
Yeah, let's go on to the next.
All right. Anakin and Friends is the title of this one. This one is I don't know. Anakin was a friend in the other one, wasn't he? I mean, I don't know. Alex, what is this list?
Okay, so this is a 7B Anakin, which you'll see occasionally. In this particular one, this is what you would typically see on Anakin is Predator R4P17 and Shield Upgrade. R4P17 works pretty good with Anakin's ability. Still get an action after the red thing or red maneuver. You can spend a force to get rid of the stress and then do your normal action. You get 2 free actions. This also has SOC Oddball, SOC Jag. And then it says Contrail with Proton Bombs dedicated R4P. And the Bash config giving it the slots. And then you have Boost with dedicated. Boost being I3 is also the same with Jag. Contrail and Oddball are I5. And then you got Anakin and I6. And it is a relatively hard-hitting list that has a little bit of durability with dedicated, and people are bad against bombs, so Contrail's great.
Yeah, that's true. Also, you run the risk of hitting your own Arc 170s with a bomb.
Yeah, they can take a bomb. They're good. They got 3 shields.
So
or 4
did,
for Oddball.
did you really make this list? Because I mean, there's only 2 dedicated in here, Alex.
I didn't make this list.
Just saying. There's only 2 dedicated. What's going on, man?
So I think this is one of the cases where I would actually prefer custom Wolf over Jag in this scenario, just because I4 and you can take advantage of Wolf's ability a little bit more for offense, but still, it's still pretty solid either way.
Yeah, and if you bring build your own Wolf, you can also bring Slider, who's the same initiative as Wolf as well.
Exactly.
Because you have 2 options for the Z95s, one being a 3 and one being a 4.
Yeah,
I like Boost better than Slider.
Yeah, I was gonna say using Boost ability on those Arc 170s, that's pretty nice.
Boost can only use it for himself.
Oh, you can't. I thought Boost was.
No, that's like a obscure torrent that no one ever uses.
No, I'm thinking of Hawk.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Hawk.
Yeah, no, Boost lets you just boost in the system phase if the boost action, sorry, not in the system phase, at the start of engagement, if you or a ship around you at range 1 has done a blue maneuver.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Really good. There's been so many times where I'm playing a buddy or something, and he's like, "Cool, I have this amazing range 1 target lock shot with Defender Vader," and I'm like, "Well, I'm going to boost right past you because I don't want to be shot by that." And there's my most fun boost I've ever done with boost was back in 2.0. I had a Procket on him. Oh, it might have been 2.5, early 2.5. I had a Procket on boost. I did a 2 hard. I blocked Boba Fett. Another ship around me did a blue, so I boosted past Boba Fett because it's a 45-degree block, and lined up my Procket to shoot the Hawk behind Boba Fett. So you can do silly shenanigans with that. I love boost. With dedicated, you can actually really control the side arc where you can use dedicated with boost at the engagement. You see and you know where every ship is, so you can adjust that angle that dedicated. But Slider is also better for salvage because that side slip he doesn't drop, and he can do it while stressed because it's a blue side slip.
That's right.
Side slip and boost is disgusting.
So with this list, this is obviously definitely not a block formation type list, right? You're not block forming anywhere with this type of list. So what's the idea behind how you play this list?
There's a couple different ways, right? You can have Anakin buy people, or you can have Anakin doing a not literal lone wolfing it, just being around. Because like Oddball and Jag, they're not too tethered, but they're. I mean, you want to have someone in Jag side arcs. An Oddball can facilitate like Contrail if you just take the focus with him and then pass him the lock for that bash. But basically, yeah, I mean, you just have Oddball, Jag somewhere pretty close, Boost pretty close to that, and then you got a solid line of ships. You can flank with Contrail. You can try to bait with Contrail, which is what you probably should do because you got proton bombs, so people will follow you. And then Anakin just comes in as the hammer, and he tries to just ace people off the board. Well, Oddball and Jag do a lot of damage.
Yeah, this feels like a hammer and anvil type list, right? You want to soften people up with Anakin, and then Oddball and Jag can come in and take care of the rest, right? Since they will most likely still be double modded or at least single modded, and if you try to go against Anakin, just that 7B chassis ability to kind of get out of dodge and arc dodge if you need to. You're probably going to leave yourself flanked by the rest of the list, and it's very tough to prioritize who you want to take out in this list. Now, that being said, Arc 170s are still one agility ships. So they can be burned down rather fast. So if you are playing this list, you don't want to leave your Arc 170s unprotected. They can tank 2, maybe 3 hits. But once they start going into that hole, those critical effects can really mess up the effectiveness of those Arc 170s. So make sure you keep any close by to make sure you can punish anybody who's ignoring them.
All right. So setup wise for this list, right? So setup wise, this list is a little bit more versatile. You don't need to fly in blocks. Obviously, Anakin's going kind of in a corner to do a flanking maneuver, or Anakin could be going next to the arcs to say, "Hey, if you are going to joust, I'm going to put Anakin there." And guess what? Who you're not going to kill is Anakin. Um, Anakin could die, but Anakin being able to throw those crits is that's pretty good, right? Like the ability to get that off with the rerolls is super good. So with this list, objective wise, where are you placing objectives? Like, this list probably does not suffer to any specific objective. It feels decently well rounded to every single one.
Yeah, I think you can play one objective deep on your side just for
Which
boost.
scenario, man? You gotta pick it.
Sorry,
You guys.
for salvage. That's what I meant.
There
I'm
you
sorry. For salvage, you can place one really deep back because you have boost who can go in and just grab that fast if you need to. Even if he's not using his ability on himself, he can
So
still
tragic.
back up the rest of the list with it with the Arc 170s. Or Contrail as well, although Contrail does like that boost lock linked action there. But those are options there for you. I would still consider using Oddball and Jag, especially if they're slow rolling as well, to be those cargo carriers, just to attract people towards their front arcs, and make them joust you. In order for Anakin to come in from the side, and then Boost can go deep into the enemy territory, get around them, and grab the objective on that side if they happen to neglect that over there. That's how I would play that.
Yeah, salvage I think is the weakest for this most, but so I'm very aggressive with my contrail, so I'm almost boosting every round. So I like having the ability to boost with contrail. I like having boost, being able to actually boost. Again, it gets you out of a lot of crazy situations. I understand it's a 2-point ship and it's a good salvage carrier. It just kind of sucks. But yeah, assault, same thing. You got arcs. You have a boost who can get to places that they might not have expected because he has an engagement phase boost. And then Anakin can do whatever he wants. He's really good in scramble. With that fine-tuned controls, being able to boost or barrel roll and then do your action is critical for scramble. especially when you have more foresight you can burn.
Yeah, and I think so. And I think when we talk about obstacles, this list is more versatile, right? You don't have to. Here, to me, I think you take gas clouds, right? Like I think that's kind of what you want to take more than rocks, because you don't care as much if you get ionized in the long run. You still get your focuses.
Can't born for this one. You're strained though.
All right, I guess that's fair. I guess that's fair. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you can pretty much bring any obstacle with this list, and I'm pretty sure there's probably a correct way of setting up obstacles with this list, but I don't think it matters as much as, like say, the Padme list before this.
Yeah, because in this list you don't have to worry about making sure Padme gets the arcs at the same time, and like so in this list your goal is not as much to create like a 3 objective zone where you could plant a specific ship to grab 3 objectives in one round. I think you put the one at the back and you pick who's going to pick it up. Is it going to be Boost? Is it going to be Contrail? Is it going to be one of your arcs? Your biggest issue here is if you give an arc a crate, where's the firepower? They have to come to you, and maybe that's not the end of the world, right? I mean, they have 4Ks for Christ's sake. Like they can 4K and make it white too. So, like that's kind of the best part about that is like you can be stressed with an arc and still 4K. You don't get an action, but you can do it. You can still R4P.
What are you saying? No, R4P is not
it's
advanced
basic.
maneuvers, basic maneuvers.
Yeah, basic maneuvers only.
Oh,
so you could do the 3 hard or the 4 straight.
Oh. All right, well that's dumb then.
Or more usually make your 2 hard a blue after you do a 4K.
Yeah.
All right, well
he's only 2 points, man. That'd be incredible as far as mini Leia.
But either way, so to me, I don't know. I guess I know you don't want to be strained, but to me, either you bring small obstacles or you're bringing your whatchamacallit, gas clouds to mess with some of the other ships. But I don't know. Anything else on this list before we move on?
I don't think so, no.
All right. The next list that we have is, I called it Rickety Whack in honor of Rick and Morty this weekend. But like this is again, we're using similar pieces with the Oddball and Jag. This one has more of the dedicated feel with Boost and Slider. Those are your objective pieces, blah, 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 blah. I then threw Mace Windu in there. That 4 points could be whatever you want. Like a lot of people are running Wolf instead of Mace. I think it's a play style thing. And then I put Rick in there. And again, this could be anything. You could put Padme in there. You could put Anakin in there. This is like your Saladish 6-ship list. And the idea behind it is I just wanted you to be able to have a 6-ship list that can be versatile in different matters. And, in my world, I don't run a lot of Republic, but in my world, I love Rick. And I love Daredevil Rick personally. But that's just me. I like Daredevil Rick. I like my Daredevil Rick with plasmas as well, though you probably don't need them. I don't know if you have to have plasmas. I think it just kind of, I don't know. You could put passive sensors on there, but I don't think I would do that. Again, to me, it's more of the plasma. Let me take my plasma torpedo, and Rick's either going to shoot a primary because of the maneuver they did, or they're going to shoot a plasma, whatever benefits that situation. I'm a Daredevil Rick though, but that's me.
Yeah,
I is R4P over R4, honestly. Just so you can get like a 3 hard that's blue is pretty nice, as opposed to like the 1 or 2 banks, or like the 1 banks, the 1 straight kind of thing. I like plasma torps on Rick as an option just because he does shoot range 3, and it's a very good opening kind of thing. Being I5, you get a lock, shoot the plasma, and you're going to do more damage on average than you would be just having his normal gun.
Yeah, and to me, Daredevil Rick is like, I don't know, maybe that's just a staple to me because that's what I'm used to. But
Yeah, it dramatically improves the time on target.
you know, it just gives Rick so many more options. But again, the idea behind this is more so that this is a 6-ship Republic list, right? This list is designed to be somewhat of like a hammer, but at the exact same token has the ability to be objective based, right? You have boost and slider. Both will have abilities to have time on target. Both of them are going to have the ability to basically say, whoever you shoot at, as long as they're in my side arc, like I like having both boost and slider, because boost allows you to still be able to boost to get out of arcs and still provide a dedicated reroll, right? And slider allows you to take that and then do your side slip, and it's just crazy the position slider can be in for this. This list, the hard time I think this list has is like extreme damage output, right? So if you're going up against a lot of health in like a chance engagement, you're gonna have a harder time, but you're also not gonna bleed points either, right? You're not bleeding a million points. If they half an arc, like you said earlier, it's 5 health, right? To bleed an arc, and you have selfless. So when they start throwing crits, which is a big thing now, you just go, oh, you were gonna half jag? Don't worry about it. You haven't shot it up. Like he'll take the crit on his shields. Don't worry. And we got an extra shield too, baby. So I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. To me, this feels like a defense based and oriented list. And again, you can sub Mace and Rick out for other ships based on your playstyle. But to me, this is what I would call the quintessential objective style based list, where this one is looking not to kill you with damage, but to plink away and then do objectives for you. Thoughts?
Yeah, I would actually, and this is just me, my jank thoughts is just subbing out plasmas and R4 and Rick for juke. And then hilariously enough, if you do like a 3 bank or 3 straight, right, and you end up near slider, at the engagement phase, you can Daredevil boost then. And
Not
do a
what
hard
slider
turn.
does. That's
Hey,
not
that's
what
not what
boost
slider
does.
does.
That's not even
Boost,
close,
sorry.
Daddy. That's not what
Boost.
boost does, JJ. Boost is only for himself.
Golly, yeah, you're right. I keep on thinking that. I don't know why I keep on thinking that. Sorry, but still, anyway, juke on Rick. Since he likes to go fast all the time, there, you can, as long as you have if you set yourself up correctly and your dice or if you're really gonna go dice heavy, I do like that juke Daredevil combo, just because you can be ultra aggressive with Rick if you need to, and get out if you need to, and just really make Rick a nuisance with his ability to get out there. Now, I do agree with Alex. R4P17 definitely, or sorry, R4P is the one that reduces the basic maneuvers. Definitely really, really good on the Naboo, just to have that hard 3 available, and it makes Rick style open up so much better, so that way you can reliably constantly get those tokens up there, and hopefully go faster than your opponent, to have Rick be a more reliable 3-die attack, especially if you're going up against like large bases or medium bases. They typically can't go as fast without the fear of going into an obstacle or overlapping a friendly ship. So you're more likely to get Rick's ability off against those ships, rather than some of the smaller bases. But yeah.
Yeah, if you want to make it like a slightly more versatile list, and then I was, a staple of Republic, but if you put in SOC Anakin instead of Mace, you suddenly have, a nice ace play. You got a nice 6 to help back up Rick. It was pretty solid. I mean, like, this kind of list, like 6 ships, you can spread out. They can, you got some pieces that can operate independently of each other. And I don't think it's like particularly bad at any objective. Chance might be a little bit iffy because you're not putting a lot of damage, but you will eventually wear people down. And I think Rick is a little bit underutilized right now in the meta.
Yeah, and I think in this style of list, I think Rick works very well. And again, you can sub any of those 4-point ships out. If you want a third arc, you could put a third arc in there. If you want an Anakin to have a little bit more ace play, you could put it in there. I chose Mace and Rick just because, to me, Mace is that pseudo ace that a lot of people sleep on. Unless you're Sean, then don't run Mace, because you lose Mace all the time. But just kidding. But I don't know. Like I enjoy the Mace play, and I really enjoy Rick, and I agree with you. I think people, I don't know. I think if we want to say, hey, Padme might not be as good as we thought she was, this list has extreme consistency and can play objectives. That's what this list can do. You know. It'd be better if we had some bombers that we could take, but we really don't get very good bombers.
Hey, honestly, I think right now some of
Republic.
the most underrated ships in the Republic right now are those cheap 3-point Y-wings. I think that they definitely have a place in the Republic meta that we just haven't seen rise to prominence as of yet. But they definitely have a place in the Republic meta.
I mean, also like knocking down Jag to like kickback, like SOC kickback, and then bumping up CLT Mace to 7P Mace is also not a bad option.
Yeah.
You're seeing that a little bit more in the meta. Someone will knock down a 4-point ship to one of those SOC torrents to bump up a 4 ship into 7B Mace. You saw a little bit at Crossroads and a couple other tournaments here and there.
Yeah. I think the objective play here, they do very well. So I don't know if we need to go through that. Obstacle placement here doesn't matter as much. I mean, if they do place the arcs together, you want to make sure that they can't have an easy lane.
Yeah,
but
don't make those obstacles tight too, because you have 6 ships.
Yeah.
You need a little bit of space for Slider and Boost and Rick.
Yes. Yep. You want things. You don't need things in corners, but you need things spread out. So you're looking for like a base and a half with minimum for everything.
Or small obstacles too. Small obstacles are fine when you have that amount of ships.
Yep, because you're not CIS. You can't land on them.
I will still land on them. I just don't get a benefit.
All right. Fair enough. You need that. All right. Anything else about this list before we wrap up the segment?
No. I mean, I think we're
we've
done a lot.
And just a reminder for newer players are trying to look into getting into these factions and using these meta lists. Just because they are good now doesn't mean there are not other good lists that are waiting to be discovered and played at. As always, I encourage you try out different combinations of ships. You could be the next Duncan Howard in making and find that one combo that works really, really well for you. And who knows, we'll be seeing your worlds with that great list.
If you're looking for a cheap Protorp carrier and you don't like flying Padme, Gavin Sykes is also 4 points, and he gets Sync Council.
Yeah,
so he has a mod slot. Just throwing that out there. Might be a little bit of a spoiler of a Republic list I'm working on.
All right. Well, that was our Academy 101 segment covering Meta Republic lists, how to play them, how to defeat them, and why Padme is not as scary as Luke is. Just kidding. Anyway,
Luke is like one of the scariest ships in the game. You should be scared of Luke.
Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. We had an amazing run tonight. Any of the store champs we did not get to, I think my camera's tilted, I just realized. Any of these store champs we did not get to, we will get to next week. And just as a kind of a precursor, if you were in the Michigan area and you want to go to another store champ, Grand Haven is having one next weekend. The probability of me being there is probably like 10% right now because my daughter is having surgery on Tuesday. So I am committing to absolutely nothing for the next 3 weeks in an effort to make sure I'm available to help out as needed. So we'll know a little bit more next week. It should affect the podcast because the longest I can be at the hospital is 8 o'clock. So I might ask the guys for a little bit of help building the show. But next week, we're going to cover the Resistance and meta list for that for our Academy 101 segment. We're also going to be talking a little bit about XTC. We are not going to go into detail unless we find a bunch of cool lists. So maybe JJ and Alex will look into see if there is any non-meta cool lists that we want to cover. And if not, then it is what it is, and we'll just kind of cover a little bit of an update. So I don't know, JJ, when does XTC week conclude? Is it Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday, yeah. So today we already had some of the first games for XTC already start. Yeah, they go all the way up until Saturday, which would be the end of the week.
Yeah, so maybe JJ will help us and throw a quick XCC update each week in there for where teams stand, how his team's doing, all that type of thing. And hopefully there's a couple cool lists, but if not, we're not going to cover lists. I'm not going to go over a bunch of meta stuff based for XCC. I just don't care, I guess. I apologize. I just don't care enough for it. And yeah, and maybe somebody will convince AMG to give me a Mr. Bones card at some point.
That'd be fantastic.
In Resistance. Because I'll tell you, I wanted to sell my Resistance, but if somebody came up with a Mr. Bones card, I 100% would not get rid of Resistance, and I would give up CIS to only fly Mr. Bones ever. I love Mr. Bones so much. My favorite character in Star Wars ever, hands down. All right. Thank you all. Have a good night, and we will see you next week, 9 p.m. Eastern, 2100 UT or Eastern, whatever, 2100 Eastern, 100 UTC. Thank you all. Have a good night, and we'll see you on the flippity flop.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Did you just say have a great weeded, everybody?
Yes, I did.
Oh fuck, I forgot we didn't even do Thrawn. Oh fuck.
Nah, it's late.